One of the most amazing God-given characteristics of humans is our imaginative drive. We humans have the ability to see potential in the craziest of places, and we also have the persistence and the ingenuity to make the most amazing things happen. Now, I know I'm biased, but I think this is especially true in America, where our culture is formed by a pioneer mentality that refuses to see a mountain as unclimbable. One great example is the oil and gas industry. In the beginning, natural gas and oil were mostly byproducts of other resources that were being harvested. Drilling for water or for salt sometimes meant running into oil. And for the most part, this resource was thought to be a nuisance. That is, until a couple of genius Americans decided that it had potential as an energy source. So they took a huge risk, and they employed Edwin Drake to intentionally drill for oil near Titusville, Pennsylvania. That first oil rig looked much different than the ones you might see today. They constructed a 6-horsepower, steam-driven, ram-type drill to get that job done. After managing to drill through the bedrock at an unprecedented 3 feet per day, on August 27, 1859, the rig struck oil at an astounding depth of 69 feet, and the oil field boom quickly followed. This method of drilling was slow, it was inefficient, it was dangerous, and there were many naysayers who thought it was just a waste of time and investment. But people were persistent. And in the face of opposition, innovation stood up to the challenge and reimagined new ways to harvest oil from the earth. Dangerous wooden derricks were replaced with steel derricks. The slow percussion drilling rig was replaced by the rotary drill. You see, instead of giving up, people sought better ways. In 1901, while drilling in Beaumont, Texas, a steam-powered rig using a rotary drill bit caused a blowout. Oil and steel were shot hundreds of feet into the air, causing a great deal of oil to be wasted, to contaminate the earth, and to endanger the workers. For 9 days, this well wasted oil by spewing it into the air. And this huge setback didn't stop the innovators. In fact, it opened the eyes of many to the potential of drilling for oil, and another boom kicked off. Now, blowouts were a real concern when drilling for oil, but necessity is the mother of invention. And in 1922, James Smith Abercrombie and Harry S. Cameron invented the first blowout preventer, the BOP. And once again, setbacks didn't shut down the venture, they offered opportunity to create solutions for better ways. By the 1960s, rotary drilling technology opened the doors for what geologists call the deep gas play. A group of visionary investors started the GHK Company in Oklahoma City and began trying to drill to unheard of depths in the Anadarko Basin. In 1967, they began their first venture, and after 2 years of drilling, they reached a record depth of 24,473 feet. Now, at a cost of $6.5 million, this venture proved unprofitable. But visionaries won't be stopped. Technology increased, and people found more effective, efficient, and safer ways to harvest oil and gas from the earth. By the 1970s, persistent visionaries began experimenting with horizontal and directional drilling, changing the game entirely. Oil could now be harvested in areas where encroachment would have been far too destructive. Environmental concerns led to innovations that sought to protect the environment as oil was harvested from the earth, and the oil and gas industry were once again transformed. Today, the oil and gas industry drives new technology and makes harvesting energy safer, much more efficient than it's ever been, and it reduces the environmental impact. From wooden rigs using steam engines to our modern walking rigs that are able to drill in multiple directions underneath the ground, we've come a long way in improving drilling efficiency and safety while decreasing the impact on the environment. This is the result of people who refuse to allow obstacles to keep them from finding new and better ways to live. Is it perfect? Of course not. Does harvesting energy still have a long ways to go? You bet it does. But that shouldn't cause us to give up. Instead, it should drive us to encourage one another to explore new and better ways of harvesting energy. You see, this drive to raise the bar to unprecedented levels is, in my own opinion, one of the greatest aspects of America. So I have to say, I'm really bothered by how many Americans choose to reject the notion that we have the ability to imagine and create better ways. Listen, innovators and visionaries look to all kinds of ways of harvesting energy. From wind to the sun, even to the motion of the ocean. It seems like we're limited only by our imagination and our willingness to persist. This is the heart of the American industry. And I'm saddened that there are those who choose to become naysayers and critics rather than encouragers and investors in these new chapters of our history. You see, the renewable energy field is not the enemy of the oil field. It's the result of the innovation that allowed the oil and gas industry to provide for us for so long. Americans shouldn't be afraid of harvesting energy in new ways. We should rejoice to see people trying to accomplish the impossible without quitting. We should go behind and encourage rather than shutting them down. We should push them and drive them and help to encourage them by our own stories, by our own history, by our own narratives. Is the renewable energy field perfect? Of course not. Listen, a windmill is not going to produce more energy than it takes to create and upkeep it. Of course, that's true of every machine created, because there's no such thing as the ideal machine. No power plant or generator ever created will produce more energy than it costs to create and run it. That's just a law of physics. That's a fact and will continue to be a fact. It's true. A windmill could spin until it falls apart and will never generate as much energy as we have invested in building it and running it. Now, of course, that's true of every coal-powered power plant as well, gas-powered power plant, and, well, any energy-converting machine invented. But to allow that to become a reason to quit? Listen, that's cowardly. That's un-American. Here's the thing. Every one of us, from the roughneck to the engineer, we're all in this together. We all live on this rock. We all need a lot of the same needs. And whether you care to believe it or not, you were all created by the same God for the purpose of reflecting His image back into creation. The harvesting of energy can actually become a way for us to do just that. Because we can encourage each other to reach for the impossible and to stretch our imaginations so we can discover ways to harvest from creation without hurting each other and without hurting the creation that we were commanded to care for. This country was developed by pioneers who didn't allow obstacles to keep them from making a better life. Let's keep that up. Let's get to know each other. Let's help each other. Let's lift each other up. It's hard to hate up close.